All right, welcome into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Patriots Network. I am Mike Kadlick from CLNS Media, joined as always by 98.5 The Sports Hub's Alex Barth. A lot to get to today, as usual, but some news, some very important Patriots news surrounding the quarterback room. We'll hit on the injuries. We'll get into offensive and defense against the Bears on Monday night. Close it out with some Q&A with you all, and then we will touch on some Thursday night football. But let's get into the most important news of the week, Alex, and that is the Patriots signed special teamer Raleigh Webb off the off the Ravens practice squad this week. Probably a move that will sort of a follow-up to Cody Davis's injury, get another body in there on special teams. A guy who I believe went to the Citadel, undrafted rookie this offseason. Played a little bit with the Ravens in the preseason. Practice squad guy, was elevated back to their practice squad now, and then the Patriots signed him to the 53. Any initial thoughts on Raleigh Webb coming into the fold here? Again, seems like a special teamer mainly, but any thoughts?
Yeah, just real quick, because I know people probably want us to get to Mac. I'm a little surprised they didn't give that spot to a tackle. I think we had talked about that earlier this week, how they could. I talked about it was this or the Sports of Patriots podcast or Catch 22 with Evan Lazar. I still think they need to add another tackle to the roster or the practice squad. They didn't fill either of those spots with the tackle, so that tells me they're not totally out on Isaiah Wynn yet. That's pretty much my reaction to it. Webb's going to help fill in for Cody Davis, but I thought they maybe had other guys on the practice squad through elevations who could do that. I thought they could have used another tackle.
Yeah. Had to touch on it because we touch on everything here, but let's get to the real news of the day. Mac Jones, Patriots quarterback, according to ESPN's Mike Reese, is expected to be ready to play this week against the Chicago Bears on Monday night. Jeff Howe from The Athletic followed that up, saying that there is no QB competition controversy in New England and that when Mac's healthy, he is the guy here. Me and Alex were both down at Gillette Stadium. We got out at the practice field for about 15 minutes. Mac looked awesome. I tweeted out several videos of it. Alex had some updates out there too, obviously. Mac looked like he was moving better than we've seen since he was injured. He was running around the field, jogging with teammates. The first time we really have seen him in a jog since his injury. He was moving through bags very smoothly, hardly a limp anymore. Mac's ready. I think Mac's ready.
Yeah, I mean, put those two together, right? Sorry, somebody pointed out that the YouTube video says Pats versus Browns. Put those two reports together, and it pretty much sounds like Mac is starting Monday night, right? Yep. Where it's okay, so Mac, when Mac's healthy, he'll start, and then the second report that Mac is available. Well, if he's available, that means he's healthy, and if he's healthy and he's starting, well, that means he's starting Monday night. So I think we kind of have our answer here. I know some people kind of got on Jeff for the wording of there is no quarterback competition in New England. I think that means as of the current moment. This doesn't mean that Bailey Zappe's going to get buried. It doesn't mean he's never going to get another chance. But Mac Jones, as I have said, as I have maintained, and I think you have too, Mike, I think you've been on this train that It's still Mac's team. It's still 100%. Mac's team. Bailey Zappe looked good, but it wasn't quite enough over a long enough period of time for Mac to lose his job. Does that mean Mac can't lose his job in the future? No, but it's still Mac's team when he's healthy.
Yeah, like you said about the locker room type thing and being his team, I mentioned it on our postgame show. I had tweeted it as well, just the fact that Zappe had been winning over some guys in the room, so it seemed like everyone was, on Bailey's side. Even today, when Ramondre spoke to us after practice, he had said that he's impressed with Bailey and there hasn't really been a drop-off. I mean, that's what you're going to say about the guy who's been winning games with you. It's not like you're going to just push this guy to the wayside because he's the backup. Like, he won the guys over in the room too, but nobody was pushing Mac aside either. So it's his team just as much as it's anybody else's team. He's a captain. He's a leader of this squad. Again, looks like he's gearing up to play. I don't know what side that's coming from, whether it's Mac's camp or not, but clearly, like we talk about sourced information there, and Mac, it seemed like Mac made a clear effort to be jogging and running around practice today when he knew the media was there, to kind of get those reports out there like, I'm back, we're back.
Right.
Because he hasn't done that before.
Yeah, no, he looked like a guy who's ready to play.
100%.
And I've said this. I've said this before. Like when we were talking about it, I think really mostly going into the Lions game, right? Because everybody knew he wasn't going to play against the Packers. It was, well, he's out there practice. He's throwing the ball. Why can't he play? Well, there's that other element of he has to get up and down the field with the offense. And if you need to go in a 2-minute drill, is he going to be able to move the ball up and down is he going to be able to move himself up and down the field to, quick snap the ball and all that? So seeing him be able to jog out there today, I mean, that's, when Mike Reese talked about that last hurdle, and we still don't know what that last hurdle is, whatever it is. But I wonder if it's something related to that. If he can move well enough between plays, and that was the last issue, because with an injury like this, sometimes that can be sort of the last, whatever you want to call it, the last box you check.
Right. And a note on that as we get into the injuries here. The Bears had, first of all, I guess we can take this off the table now. The Bears had no injuries on their report today. The Bears are healthy as they can be. So that's a good sign for them, but let's morph this into the injuries, because although Mac did move so well, he was still listed as
the one notable thing about the Bears not having anybody on the injury report. Mm-hmm. All right, so N'Keal's full go. Let's go. Let's do this. The return.
Yes, the return is more than on the table on this show.
I'll give a little tease here. I have an actual score prediction for this Patriots game based on that news. So I'm actually going to give a prediction this time.
Then you have to stick around for the entirety of Patriots Beat tonight, folks. So yeah, nothing to report on the Bears front. Early in the week, their first injury report, but no signs of any troubles there. So good news for Bears and Bears fans that they are coming into this one pretty much fully healthy since last week. Moving into the injury report, like I was saying about Mac, moving around very well. Talking about that last hurdle, he was still listed as limited in practice today. So we obviously don't know what that means in its entirety, but he was one of the guys listed as was not a full participant post us leaving the practice field.
Right. But that can, I mean, it's tough to tell. That can mean so many different things, like you said.
Sure.
Did he come off the field 10 minutes after practice ended, or did he miss one drill? Right. Because he had, his ankle was flaring up a little bit. So he's limited. It's tough to read into that other than, all right, he's dealing with something.
Right. He's still injured. So that's another thing.
Right.
They gotta play by the rules, by the NFL's injury report rules. So by rule, they have to list him as limited. But again, Mac looks good. We'll get into that when we get into the offense. But the Patriots report is filled with guys, whether they were limited, full, or did not practice. I think the biggest, this is in my opinion, especially where this team is going or has been going over the last several weeks with the way they attack their offense. Damian Harris was a full participant in practice today with his hamstring injury. Harris injured the hamstring against the Lions 2 weeks ago. It was reported a few times that he was set to miss a couple weeks and that they were going to lean on Stevenson pretty heavy here. Obviously, the bulk has been on Stevenson the last 2 weeks, but Harris was a full participant, so it looks like he traveled to Cleveland last weekend, did not end up playing, but him being full go today is huge. I think that's a good sign that they'll be able to split the carries from the running back position on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a broken record at this point with, they need to be careful about Ramondre Stevenson, and he kind of talked about that today, how he's definitely starting to feel it. Getting Damian Harris back would be massive, because I don't think they're totally there yet with Kevin Harris. I know he got 3 touches last week. I don't think they're totally there yet with Pierre Strong. They could have elevated J.J. Taylor. They didn't. Yep. So to me, it's either Damian Harris or it's fully on Ramondre. And I think getting Damian Harris is going to be huge. Getting him back is going to be huge for Ramondre Stevenson, especially against this defense. This is a physical defense. They come to hit. Yep. They're very good against the run. So getting Ramondre some help would be big.
Yeah, at the same time that I started saying on this very show that Ramondre needs the bulk of the carries and make him your bell cow and yada, 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 Harris goes down, Stevenson's getting a crazy workload, and now I'm sitting here saying to myself, okay, they need Harris back to take some of this off his plate. So it should be good news for the running back room as a whole. So Damian Harris, a full participant today at practice. Some other ones, Mike Onwenu, ankle injury, was limited. Kendrick Bourne, turf toe limited. Jonnu limited. Barmore limited. But it looks like Barmore kind of dodged the bullet a little bit. People were kind of worried about his injury when he went down with the knee.
Yeah, it looked a little scary. Yeah,
it looked tough. He came off. I think there was some injury music, and they went to commercial if I remember correctly. So, but no, Barmore limited again. Looks like he dodged a bullet. So I guess that's good news. But Bourne being limited, Jonnu again being limited with they're banged up on offense with Onwenu as well. So,
well, then Aguilar was a non-participant.
Aguilar was also a
I might have
DNP with
missed
his
that. That
hamstring.
might have been host not listening, and that one's interesting because as long as he's out, so he was limited all week last week, and now he's downgraded, and we know hamstrings can be tricky. So that was interesting for me to see. And as long as he's out, Tyquan Thornton's going to get a ton of chances, and I'm not saying he'll get no chances when Nelson Aguilar comes back, but could be another big week for him, especially against a rough pass defense.
Yeah. Good, like you said, good chances for Thornton there. I had just said that it's tough with the bang ups here on especially the receiver side, but if you can get Tyquan more reps, he's taken full advantage of them over the last 2 weeks. He was awesome last week too. So I guess you never want an injury is never good news. So do not take this out of context. But them being able to put Tyquan in under poor circumstances is ultimately good for his future, I guess.
This is also why when everybody wanted to trade a wide receiver over the summer, this is why I was pushing back on it, because the depth was, Nelson Aguilar has a history of getting banged up. Devontae Parker has a history of getting banged up. Tyquan Thornton's a rookie. As good as he looked, you don't know. They were going to need all this depth, and boom, here we are. And if they were down to even one of these guys, you'd be talking about LJ Humphrey playing a significant role, or them having to go to Trey Nixon or Lynn Bowden here. They're in a comfortable spot right now because they didn't end up pulling the trigger on any of those trades.
I mean, those rumors even came up last week, as Jeremy Fowler reported that there was interest in Kendrick Bourne. There's interest in them potentially moving Aguilar too. So they're both, I don't want to say down, but they're both a little banged up right now. So you got to keep those guys around because again, they're gone and there's not much else behind them. So Jonnu Smith again limited, but I think he played last week. He did play last week. He looked pretty good. He had a couple seam throws and whatnot. But the one that I'm wondering about is Mike Onwenu because he popped up today. He's been huge at the guard position. A guy who we talked about last show was always, when he originally came in his rookie season, he was really good and they stuck him at guard. He came in as a tackle, then they stuck him at guard and he was great. The 2 years after that, he was kind of shuffled around the offensive line a little bit. He's a quality player, but he's best when he is stuck at one position. As he is at guard this year, he's been phenomenal. Do you make anything of the Onwenu injury? Because Isaiah Wynn was also questionable today, limited today with, I believe, I can't remember. I don't have it pulled up.
I can't remember what it was either.
But again, Wynn was limited too, so they're banged up on the offensive line too. So if they don't have Onwenu there, that's going to be a tough one for what they're going to want to do against the Bears.
Yeah, and Wynn was a shoulder injury.
Right, okay.
Onwenu's been their best offensive lineman, and he's kind of had to be at times because David Andrews is more often than not going left to help Cole Strange, and that's how it kind of goes with the rookie. He's obviously got Isaiah Wynn on his other side, and Wynn just got benched again. So he's been asked to do a ton, and he's held up incredibly well. The good news is he finished the game last week, so you think maybe it's just the course of going through the season, and he'll be all right. But that's not a guy they can afford to lose. He's been tremendous, and he's kind of been, in some ways, the linchpin of that offensive line. I think it really is David Andrews, and it's always been. But Michael Onwenu has been a huge, huge, huge part of what they've done.
Yep. Another one that, now that I have the full report up in front of me, that is going to be interesting to see how it plays out is Lawrence Guy with his shoulder. He's limited. He was limited today. He didn't play the last 2 weeks. He was limited the last 2 weeks against two teams in the Lions and the Browns that now that we're looking at the title, Browns Bears is going back and forth on me. Did not play against the Browns, two teams that have really good run offenses, and they were able to pretty much shut them down to get to the win. This week, same thing. The Bears, their pass offense is nowhere near the strength of their offense. They rely on the run game a little bit as well. We'll get into that more in depth, but Guy looks like he's limited again here. Looks like he's on the right direction to potentially play, but how important would it be to have him out there on Monday?
Yeah, he'd be a big addition, but they've played the run incredibly well without him. So if they can let him get healthy, I know people have talked about this with Mac Jones. I think it's a wildly different conversation at the quarterback position. But if they can let Lawrence Guy get healthy, I think they can let him get healthy, right? I think they should. They can afford to. the way that
Right.
defensive line's played. Carl Davis has played maybe the best football he's played since getting to the Patriots. Obviously, we know Dietrich Wise is having a career year. Christian Barmore, assuming he's healthy, has played well. I'm fine if they let Lawrence Guy take his time coming back. I think that it's not a knock on Lawrence Guy. They've played very well up front. And Raekwon McMillan's fully healthy now, coming down from the second level, another run stopper, so that'll help as well.
Yeah. And the last one here, did not play last week. Josh Uche was back at practice today in a limited capacity, but again, another guy who looks like he's trending in the right direction because he missed last Friday, did not play on Sunday. Now he's back on the field, so hopefully they'll get him back out there. He was a hamstring as well. So a guy on the front seven guy that will ultimately just help them continue to be the dominant defense that they've been. So let's talk offense, right? Like we said, it looks like Mac's set to be back at the helm for the New England offense. They've played two secondary defenses, if you will. They're not great defenses in the NFL the last 2 weeks, and they were able to get 2 wins. Mac Jones comes back. The Bears haven't been great this year, but their defense is better. They continue to play better defenses week after week here in this stretch. Their defense has led up the third fewest passing yards in the NFL, but they've also led up the second most rushing yards behind the Seahawks. I think they're letting up like 4.8 yards per carry right now. So 2 guys to worry about on their defense as they scheme it up here. There's 2 guys, in my opinion, and it's Roquan Smith and Eddie Jackson. Roquan leads them in tackles. Eddie Jackson has 3 interceptions. He's good on the back end in both phases of the game. But initial thoughts kind of on this defense and how they can match up against them.
Yeah, the first thing I look at when I look at a defense, and you kind of just got to it there, is do they have playmakers at all 3 levels? Because that's where, if there's one playmaker, you can kind of isolate that guy at times, unless it's a boundary corner. You can sort of isolate that guy. I would say the Bears have at least one playmaker at all 3 levels. The guys you mentioned, Roquan Smith, Eddie Jackson. I would also throw Robert Quinn into that category personally, coming off that strong side edge. So, and they've got, in terms of support behind those guys, the big one for me is Jaquan Brisker. I think Jaquan Brisker is fantastic. I really thought he was going to end up a Patriot, if we're being honest.
You've said that about a lot of guys in this NFL.
My draft board is like 80 players.
Okay.
Brisker is one of those like big physical hybrid safeties, right? Really smart football player. So between him and Jackson on the back end, and if it is Mac, I think, a lot of people who don't want Mac to play have kind of leaned on those 5 interceptions in 3 games. I think when you actually go back and watch the interceptions instead of just dry humping the stat sheet, there's a lot more context and nuance to those plays, that it's not all on Mac. That being said, I think where he did ultimately run into trouble on those plays, and maybe other plays that weren't picked off but should have been, are he lost track of lurkers defensively. He lost track just of kind of guys on the back end who maybe don't have a true assignment other than follow the quarterback. Eddie Jackson's going to do that. Jaquan Brisker is going to do that at times. If Mac starts like we think he will, that's going to be the biggest thing for me, is him keeping track of those guys and not allowing those guys to get one over on him. I think if he can do that, I like Trent Brown against Robert Quinn. I like, at the very least, that should be a neutral matchup. Roquan Smith, they can kind of work their way around. Maybe you're running more on the outside to get him off the ball. Maybe you're pulling guards, so there's somebody meeting him when you get through the hole. To me, it's in the passing game, Mac Jones not letting those 2 safeties take advantage of him. And then on the flip side of that, I said this going into the Lions game, they got to attack in the slot. Kyler Gordon is a rookie who a lot of people thought was a fit for the Patriots. I did not. I didn't have him very high on my list, oddly enough.
Yeah, right.
He's allowed 33 catches on 44 targets for 383 yards. I mean, he has gotten beat up badly in the slot. I kind of talked about when we led up to the Lions game, you want to make things easy for Bailey Zappi. It's his first NFL start, throw the ball to the slot. Well, you also want to make, Mac Jones' first live action in 3 weeks. It's supposed to be raining, so that compounds everything, right? You want to make things easy for him, give him those quick release options. That would be Jacoby Myers. And that's a matchup against Kyler Gordon that he should absolutely win.
100%. I think, again, that's where I was going to go in this next sort of part on the offense here, is attack the hell out of Kyler Gordon, a guy out of Washington, like you said, a top corner off the board. But again, he's struggled so far early in his career against the Bears or with the Bears. I think it's probably due to, like you said, teams just now know that they can attack him, and now they automatically put him in a bind and they match up their best players on him.
Right.
Pat's got to continue to do that with Jacoby in the slot. The other thing, like you said, with Mac Jones and making him continue to feel comfortable, I've said it. It sounds like a broken record the last 3 weeks, but also with the addition of Mac Jones in here, they got to keep running this offense the same exact way they've called it the last 3 weeks with Zappe at the helm. Run heavy, run first, set up play action, quick routes, 2-man routes, get guys in space. The same stuff they've run with Zappe, that's exactly how you get Mac acclimated back into the NFL against a team like the Bears, who pretty good against the pass, but Patriots can scheme it up against them just like they've done the last few weeks. Good matchup, like you said, with Jacoby on Gordon. Got to worry about Eddie Jackson in the back end. Worry about Roquan in the run game. Leads them in tackles. But again, it seems it's another favorable matchup as long as they continue to run this offense the way they have with Zappe.
Yeah, that's kind of the big question, right? Is it what is the driving force behind the elevation of this offense? Is it 6 weeks in, they've kind of learned what the strengths are and they're playing to it? Or is it there was the Mac offense and there was the Bailey Zappe offense, and that's that? It's a clear line of demarcation. If it's the first thing, I love Mac in this new offense, all that play action stuff. I think it's a version of what they were doing last year, right? Mm-hmm. But there's opportunity for more aggressive throws. There's more opportunity to attack down the field, especially with Tyquan Thornton. And that was really the big thing coming into the summer, right? What's the biggest thing you want to see for Mac Jones? I want to see him kind of test the secondary a little bit more in the intermediate and deep parts of the field. If it's the second thing, nope, that was Bailey's offense and he ran that and it's Mac's offense. No, it can't be that. It didn't work. It's not just that it didn't work for Mac, it didn't work for anybody. And I'm sorry, in the NFL, especially when you have this running game, and if there's one thing we know about this offense, Mike, when they get that gap power scheme going, they can run the football.
Yep.
There's no excuse to run play action as little as they did. None. Yep. That needs to, and under center play action, that needs to continue to be a part of their offense. Most of those big plays Bailey Zappe hit came off and were a result of under center play action. That needs to continue to be a thing.
It has to. And again, it's the idea that they came into this summer of pushing the ball downfield and utilizing the increased arm strength, if you will, of Mac Jones and playing to the level that other offenses in this league play at. It makes sense from, a 30,000 foot view, but when it clearly doesn't work with the personnel you have, and I get that, they've brought in guys like Tyquan Thornton now who can stretch the field, and a guy like Devontae Parker who is a downfield guy, contested catch type guy. It made sense to integrate that into your offense, but it can't be the lone thing with this spread them out, no play action nonsense. Like I'm trying to pull it up right here that Evan Lazar tweeted from Patriots.com. Interesting nuggets from Next Gen Stats. The passing plays with this is incredible. Passing plays with just five blockers in pass protection. They ran 81% of the time. Mac only had 5 blockers. Zappe, 51% of the time he only had 5 blockers. They have guys in there. They're running play action. They're running, like you said, not like airmail offense. You're again scheming it up in essentially an easier read for your quarterback, and that's what they have to do with Mac Jones at least to start. Integrate, like you said, the deeper downfield throws that Mac was hitting. Don't forget about that. He made some of the best throws of his career against the Ravens in the game that he got hurt. A couple to Kendrick Bourne, and I believe to Aguilar, he had a few. So like he has the ability to do it, but you have to scheme it up better for
him. And what's weird for me, people keep they look at that stat and they say, oh well, they had to make the offense easier for Bailey Zappe. They shouldn't have to for Mac Jones. Why wouldn't you want to make the offense easy for your quarterback? Right. Like that's kind of what this whole, pulling your hair out, screaming thing since the summer has been. Why are they making this harder than it needs to be? If it works, it works. The level of difficulty shouldn't really matter as long as you're putting points on the board. So it really felt like they were putting it, and I said this before Mac got hurt. It really felt like they were just putting everything on Mac's shoulders to start the season. And that's a wild ask of your second-year quarterback. I don't care how good of a rookie season he had. They didn't do that with Bailey Zappe really at all. there's got to be some sort of happy medium where, like, okay, it's not a total handcuff vanilla offense, but you're also basically not asking the kid to go out and win the game 1-on-11. Like,
right.
It's in the middle ground feels like the offense they were running with Bailey Zappi with more deep route combinations ingrained into it. That's a little bit of an oversimplification, but
that's
I don't
essentially
think
what it
by
is.
much. Right.
Right. And like you're saying, it's a really good point that you bring up. It's like, why wouldn't you want to make it easier? It's not like they're dumbing it down to a wing T offense that
right.
they're running 3 passing plays a game and winning games 15-10 on their defense and only putting up just enough. They've scored 29 and 38 points over the last 2 weeks. They're scoring points with the offense being simpler, still scheming guys up. It's not like they're not scoring the football like other teams in the NFL. They're literally
it's
scoring
against
points.
Bad defenses. They do need to be a bit more explosive, but not.
Of course,
I don't think a ton. Like,
but you get the point. We're on the same page,
right?
Here.
Yeah. What them succeeding against these defenses tells you at least the basic framework is in place, right?
100%.
Build off. Nobody's saying run the same offense they ran. Maybe some people are, but I'm not saying run the same offense against Detroit and Cleveland, but use that as the base and build off of
the
it instead of
around it,
building off of whatever that was the first 3 weeks.
100%. So yeah, I think again, Stevenson now, they'll run this offense like we said, run it basically the same way as Zappi, at least as a baseline. We mentioned it in injuries, but Damian Harris being back is huge because they're going to want to establish the run. Stevenson has to be your one, but he needs help spelling. He needs help with a spell back because Kevin Harris, Pierre Strong just didn't do it last week. I don't see them giving them opportunities here again if Harris is out. I mean, they may have to in theory, but they'll continue to maybe get some jet sweeps in there with Thornton again. Pass the ball more, get guys on like quick outs to establish a screen is essentially a run play if you scheme it up correctly. Huge to have Harris back. I think that's a big piece for their offense this week is having Harris back.
If he's back, even him being a full participant, I don't know. I'm not convinced yet. Hamstrings are just tricky, right? The report was
that's
multiple
true.
weeks. It would be huge having, like, I don't disagree with anything that you said if he plays.
Right.
I'll believe it when I see it. I think I don't know. I default to that report. And I know the theme of this week is kind of don't believe everything you read on the internet. But I still think that he's a week away. Hamstrings are weird, man. Hamstrings are weird. It's going to be in the rain, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Well, you just said it with Aguilar too. Aguilar's another hammy guy who was limited last week, doesn't play. You think he's getting more rest. He's getting more healthy on the right track. And then he's a DNP today. So, again, can be very tricky. But it'd be huge to have him on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be big. It'll be a big boost. The biggest boost, I've said it till I've been blue in the face, is going to be Mac. I think Mac needs to get comfortable. We've beat it up. We've beat it on the head for the last 15 minutes now. But Mac being in there is going to be ginormous for this team. I really think so. I think it gives them, as much as they're winning and as much as we keep, I guess, not we, because I haven't really, it's out there. The QB controversy is out there. But the longer we keep pounding that narrative, the worse it gets internally because they listen. Don't get me wrong. They listen and they hear it. So get Mac back on board, get this team going in one direction, and they can compete because their defense is legit, which we'll get into right after this. Do you have anything more on the offense besides that? I think we hit
no, I think we're good.
But yeah, cool. So before we get into this dominant defense that the Patriots had, let's talk about LinkedIn, Alex, because LinkedIn is the exclusive sponsor of the Patriots Beat podcast on our own CLNS. And so these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. We use LinkedIn Jobs here at CLNS Media to post our job openings, and it works like a charm. LinkedIn Jobs makes it super easy to post your openings. You then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. 2022 is coming to a close, so now's the perfect time to finish the year off right with a new team member. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering high-quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/beat. That's linkedin.com/beat to post your job for free. As always, terms and conditions apply. All right, let's get into this defense. This star-studded, dominant defense that we've seen for the last 2 weeks against two not-so-great offenses. The offense gets even worse this week with the Bears. This offense is pretty abysmal, especially from a passing standpoint. Justin Fields has less than 1,000 passing yards through 6 games. Josh Allen, who leads the league, has 1,000 more passing yards than Justin Fields. I was a Justin Fields guy coming into his draft. I think he's a skilled player. He has a pretty strong arm. He's obviously very dynamic in the way he plays, but the Bears sort of feel like the Jets right now, where they just can't get behind the developing a quarterback type thing that not most other teams, but a lot of different teams do. They feel like a team that struggles to develop quarterbacks right now, and he's just the latest culprit there. Their run game is a little bit better. They have a pretty solid run game. Khalil Herbert, I think, is 11th in the NFL right now in rushing yards. They also have David Montgomery, who has been out a couple weeks with an injury, but he's been back. They have 2 really good backs. They're going to try and pound the rock. Patriots need to stop it, and they've done that the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I just think it really all comes down to Fields, and Bill kind of talked about that this week. Like, he's doing what he can in the context of that offense to compete, and everything's sort of falling apart behind him. Even their great running game is a lot of him just kind of creating off. Like, they don't run a ton of designed runs for him, yet he still has a ton of rushing yards.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you some interesting numbers here, Mike, in terms of where the Bears' offensive line is at, because it really all starts with the offensive line. The Bears are the most pressured team in the National Football League this year. Justin Fields has been pressured on 31.2% of his dropbacks. He has been sacked 23 times, which is tied with Carson Wentz for the most sacked quarterback in football. So, most pressures, most sacks. You want to know how often the Bears have been blitzed this year?
Let's hear it.
Dead last. They've seen 39 blitzes in 6 games. So you know what that tells me about this game? If you're the Patriots, because the one thing the Bears do lead the league in is explosive plays, because they do have a guy in Darnell Mooney who can do a lot after he catches the football. And the running backs can as well.
Right.
And where that doesn't come from them like designing things and like these great. No, it's a play absolutely breaks down. Justin Fields extends it for 4, 5, 6 seconds. Corner falls off the receiver. Boom, down the field. So what this game is to me is you don't need to blitz to turn up the pressure on Justin Fields. You really shouldn't.
Right.
4 guys on the line of scrimmage. Don't over pursue. Contain Justin Fields. Don't let him run around. And then just drop everybody you can back into coverage and make sure guys aren't running free if he extends the play. To me, it might be that simple. Just a disciplined game from the defensive line should get it done. That's how much of a mess this offense is.
The NFL, it's not a simple game. It's the hardest game to coach. It's the hardest game to play, the hardest football game to play, hardest football game to coach in the world. The game plan this week, it really does. It feels that simple. It's a team that, like, you get after them with no blitz, and the Patriots, whose secondary has been really impressive this year, you hold them in the secondary, and it feels like a really good recipe for success. It's a bit similar recipe, like I said, to what they've had against the Lions and the Browns, whose run game is clearly better than the pass game. And they've stopped the run, and they've held up the pass. They've made the quarterback beat them, and it feels like that's going to be the same recipe here. Make Justin Fields beat you. A much more dynamic quarterback, like we've said, than the last 2, but I don't know. I feel like
if the pass rush, there were some times, especially in that Lions game, where I thought maybe Jared Goff, had he been more athletic, would have had a chance to make some plays. Sure. As long as the defensive line is disciplined, they're not over pursuing, they should be fine. That's what it comes down to me. Dietrich Wise, Matthew Judon, not allowing him to get around the edge, and then Barmore, Godshaw, whoever it is in the middle, just getting their hands up in those passing lanes.
Yeah, I mean, talking about it, looping the injuries back in like I've done the last couple times, but like you think about Lawrence Guy being on the inside to stop the run, but they've had success without him the last 2 weeks. And Barmore hopefully will get some reps in there, but like they don't have to rush Lawrence Guy back because they've been so well at. You brought up the stat last week with Chubb. he got his carries, or he didn't get his carries, but like he had like 2 chunk plays, and besides that, his yards per carry was like less than 3. So they contained the run to win the football game without Lawrence Guy and Barmore for most of the game. They don't need to rush. I don't think they should rush Guy back now that I'm really thinking about it and talking it through here directly on this podcast with you. They just need to continue to contain the run like they did. I mean, it really feels that simple.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, not much more notes on defense for me because this Patriots secondary, I feel like pretty much clearly matches up better. Like they're better than this receiving core for the Bears. I think taking away Cole Kmet with Kyle Duggar is a simple task. I think whether they run man or zone here, realistically, they match up. I mean, Mooney's their best receiver, and I think that mix Jalen Mills and Jonathan Jones against a guy like Donald Mooney, the Patriots win that all day.
Jonathan Jones, he's fast, but Jonathan Jones should be able to run with him.
Exactly. So it's, I mean, the game plan's there. They just need to execute it. They've executed it for 2 weeks. They really have the momentum. Judon talked about that today when Dan Roach asked him kind of what they're doing and how they're playing so well. And it's like they're just really gelling right now as a unit. And I think they'll continue to do that on Monday night.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's realistically easy game plan on defense. So for y'all in the chat, I think we can open this up to some Q&A. We have a bit of time. We got through that one O&D pretty quick here with Mac Jones and the clear win I think the Patriots have on the defensive side of the ball here. So we'll see if we can get some questions in the chat, and we'll start to answer some of those before we wrap this thing up with some Thursday Night Football talk.
Yep. So just, I guess, throw your questions in the chat.
Yeah, drop them in, guys.
Somebody asked any earlier in the show that we can kind of get started with here. Nope, maybe not. Not seeing any questions.
Any news
here.
on Ty Montgomery?
Yeah. Well, Bill still won't give us an update on him. So no. It's
nothing really.
Yeah. It's weird.
I saw him in the hallway today. We were at Gillette. I saw him walk by in the hallway. I said, "What's up, Ty?" He seems like he was in good spirits, but
so he's in the building. There you go.
Yes, he was in the building.
All right, I'm going to bring this one up because I see people talking about it. This happened or was noticed right after we started the show.
Your favorite, Alex. Your favorite drama.
Yeah. It's interesting. Is that you? Well, look, his job is sort of up in the air. Is this a sign that he's been told he was benched? Could be. Maybe he's just clearing the clutter. I don't know. I don't think it means he's getting traded. Some people on Twitter asked me about that. I don't think it means he's getting traded. Speaking of trades, I'm going to guess this means is Nelson getting traded, I think is what this was supposed to say.
Yeah.
I don't really know what the value would be at this point. Like,
no.
Is any team going to come calling about him? Right?
He hasn't shown it. He hasn't shown anything of necessary value where you're going to get anything back that's reasonable.
Right. I don't know. Like, the trade's not going to be there. And in regards to it opening up the cap space, it's such a different circumstance now than it was at in camp. That
right.
Could they trade him if they wanted to? Probably. He's still, as much as people are down on him, he's still good depth. Right. And I don't know that trading him is ultimately going to be worth losing that depth. You're not going to get anything. It's going to be, if you trade Nelson Agholor at this point, it's probably him in a 7th for a 6th. That's just not worth burning the depth right now, especially when you don't really free up any money.
Right. Will Marcus Jones get more snaps at slot cornerback this game? I'm just going to read them too in case we got some people listening not on YouTube. So
next question. That's a good call. You're the host.
Will Marcus Jones get more snaps at slot cornerback this game, Alex?
I'd like to see it. I mean, he's been playing more and more, right? If Jonathan Jones doesn't play, he definitely will. I think that's part of the reason he played more last week. I've been saying I want to see him more on defense, and it's kind of been a gradual increase, which is the same with Jack Jones. He just started from Marcus Jones wasn't playing. Jack Jones started at about 30% and has been gradually increasing. So I think we'll see him a little bit more. I don't know about a ton, but yeah, I do think, I think he's done enough in the last 2 games where he's actually somewhat been featured defensively that he hasn't given them any reason to take him off the field. Again, I think the increase in snaps will be gradual, but he's given them no reason to play any less snaps. And that kind of is really all you can ask for from a rookie, especially in the Patriots system. They're always going to bring guys along slowly. But if they're not giving him a reason to decrease the snaps, they're trending in the right direction.
Right. Mixing this into this next question here, is John Jones back? John Jones was limited at practice today with his injury. Not much more insight than that. I think that he was probably close to a game time-ish decision last week. He was limited as well. I think there's a good chance he's back this week, and I think it would actually be huge to have him back to take Mooney out of the offense completely and make them beat you with Fields and N'Keal Harry, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see him back, and like you said, it'd be a great game to have him back for the speed.
Right.
I don't know, I don't have an update on where his ankle's at. I will say the fact it's likely going to rain sort of makes it that much trickier to project with some of these guys with lower body injuries. So that's just one thing I'd keep in mind. I want to bring this one up because I think this is a good point. Does Brian Hoyer get cut now? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it because he's so valuable, especially when you have two young quarterbacks.
Right.
He's so valuable in that room as another coach, as a teacher. They rave about kind of the work he does in the classroom, in the film room. They might leave him on IR.
Right.
But I can't. There's zero reason for them to cut him. They shouldn't cut him.
They should not cut him. And that's what I was going to say, just about leaving him on IR, keeping him in the building. Like when we were in the locker room today, I walked by Garrett Gilbert's locker, and I was like, Mac back, Zappy, clear backup. Is this it for Garrett Gilbert? But if you keep four guys in that quarterback room, it's not a bad place to be at. You can continue to keep Gilbert on the practice squad. You have a body there who now is slowly but surely learning this offense that over the last 2 years, and Hoyer can still be the heads guy and Gilbert can be the body. So I think both of them end up sticking around throughout the rest of the season. There's no point in cutting Hoyer, like you said.
Right. And as somebody, I just said he's very valuable. Somebody said, how valuable are we talking? Well, on IR, I mean, what value are you losing by keeping him on IR? And even if they want to bring him back, it's probably for Kevin Harris, who isn't really playing anyway. So, yeah, I would say you're not missing out by giving him a roster spot. The value when he's on IR, he's on IR. It doesn't take up anything. Right. Even when he's on the roster, I think the value he adds as a teacher, and they can't make him a coach. They just can't. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
At least not right now.
You're in the building more. You make less money. He doesn't want to be a coach. We need to put that narrative away.
Right.
You literally work
when
more.
He retires, we can talk
less.
about it. When he retires, we can talk about
it. Yeah.
I believe he said he'd be interested in getting into coaching, but the point is he's not going to do it until he absolutely has to, right?
Right.
Like you said, less money, you're in the building more. But if none of the 32 teams are going to pay you to be a player, well, then that's the only way you're getting in the building. That's what I mean by we talk about it when he retires. Yeah. Here's an interesting one. Well, nope, not that one. What happened to Devin McCourty? Haven't seen him out there. You want to go first on this one, or
no? Go for it.
Yeah, I think that he's been, with some of the injuries, he's been tasked into some coverage situations that haven't gone great for him. I still think he's played well when he's in that traditional deep safety role. I would like to see them putting him less in one-on-one coverage, though. I don't really know where that's coming from. They haven't done that in a couple of years, so I understand why he looks a little out of place there, because he is sort of out of position.
He's a guy who's good in his role, and he's a guy that they maybe trust a little bit too much now, if you will, for, crap hits the fan. We need Devin to go play a position that we might not have had him do necessarily, like you said, in a position like one-on-one or, whatever the case may be. They're like, oh, Dev can do it, and he gets caught up sometimes because he's getting to that age. But, I mean, he's still valuable in the role that he plays here. So,
yep. Here we go. I think this is a question for Mike. Who are the
Lancers? The Worcester State Lancers, Worcester, Massachusetts, Division III football team.
And why do you have that helmet on your wall?
And why do I have it? Because I played backup quarterback, Division III football for 4 years.
There you go.
I was the clipboard guy.
Mike was the Bailey Zappi of Worcester State.
Exactly.
They all had Kadlick fever.
Kadlick fever when
Kadlick
Kadlick came in to start a game, they would win. It's like, why isn't this kid playing? No, I'm kidding. But those are the Lancers, Worcester State.
This is a good question. This is probably a deeper conversation than just real quick. What are the expectations for Mac in the new Zappy style offense? I think to be sort of, the guy he was last year, but more explosive, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of what you're looking for, is for him to take advantage of what he did last year, but maybe mix in some more chances down the field. The expectation should be high because it's an offense.
I was just going to say the expectations are high.
The thing about,
to put it bluntly,
the offense at the beginning of the year and why I hated it and why I think a lot of people didn't like it, and this is from camp to Matt getting hurt, it didn't play to his skill set. It didn't.
Right.
And I don't care who your quarterback is. You know, people act like tailoring an offense to a quarterback is some sort of sign of deficiency about the quarterback. No, every offense, the Bills' offense is tailored to Josh Allen. The Chiefs' offense is tailored to Patrick Mahomes. Like, you tailor the offense to your quarterback or you're dumb. And it just felt like they were kind of getting away from that. This offense that they're running with Zappe, because Mac and Zappe have similar skill sets. Maybe Mac has those skills at a more advanced level, but the prototype is the same. The archetype is the same. This is an offense that's tailored to Mac Jones' skill set. He should be better in it. He should be
100%. I think the expectations, like you said, I think they're really high. Not in a bad way, but it's like, okay, Zappe succeeded in the offense the last 2 weeks. Mac is in theory a better quarterback than Zappe by pretty much all accounts, besides maybe mobility a little bit. They should be high. He's another year in the NFL. Again, I think that this should have been the offense all along. And if Mac's behind center, even if he's at 85, 90%, I expect big things from him on Monday night.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
If you don't have a question, I have one for you because you'll love this one.
Okay.
I don't know what the line is. I haven't looked at the props yet for this game, but if N'Keal Harry's over-under is 1.5 receptions, Alex, are you taking the over?
Take the over on targets. He's got to catch the football. But
yeah.
I mean, teams do this, right? He's coming back. It's no secret it didn't end well here for him. There's probably, I don't want to say there's bad blood, but he probably doesn't have a favorable feeling towards the Patriots organization. If he plays, I would think the Bears give him a couple chances. Now, how those chances will go is a bigger question. Right. But I would expect if he plays, they've got 2 or 3 plays in the playbook meant to kind of get him open.
Well, the receiver
and end arounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, the receiver room isn't that great in Chicago. I mean, Darnell Mooney. It's Darnell Mooney in a drop.
The guys that are playing are all tiny. They need that size. Like, they're kind of counting on, and you know, we've been there. They're kind of counting on N'Keal Harry to fill a role here and kind of help unlock their quarterback.
Don't look forward to anything, Bears fans. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're Bears fans. They don't need to be told that. But,
yeah, right. Fair.
I'm going to say, well, you know what? I think it goes over on targets. I think he ends up with 4 or 5 targets. I think he ends up with a carry, like an end around.
Interesting.
They're going to have him locked down. I actually think Jack Jones is a really good matchup for him. And I think they're going to put Jack Jones on him. Unless they're running him screens, I might go under 1.5. I really might. Targets over. I don't know if you could bet targets. Targets over.
So you think he'll get 5 targets and he'll miss 4 of them? I love that. You are not an N'Keal Harry guy.
Well, I mean, some of it's the quarterback and it's the whole offense.
That's the whole thing.
Right. So.
Yeah. Here's one. Potential trade targets for the deadline. I talked about it a little bit on this show. I wrote about it on CLNSmedia.com. I really think the Patriots should go after Shaq Thompson with the Panthers fire sale. I like what the Patriots defense has done this year. I've talked about it on the show plenty of times. I've tweeted about it. It's a thing. The Patriots defense has been legit. Their movement towards faster linebackers this offseason has been pretty good so far, but they're still relying on guys with slower feet who have played well, like a Jelani Tavai. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to talk bad about Tavai anymore, but he plays that hybrid position, Shaq Thompson. He only makes $1.1 million this year, I believe.
Shoots up next year, though.
Yeah, I know, but that's a next year decision. I mean, I think he's a guy who would fit this system and kind of the versatile playmaker they like. So he's my one trade target. He's my one trade target is Shaq Thompson from the Panthers.
He's a guy I definitely think they should go after in the offseason. Totally think they should go after him in the offseason. He'll be on an expiring contract with the $24 million cap hit. So that screams get him on cheap money on an expiring deal, then rework the contract. Or get him for lesser value on expiring deal and rework the contract. I think he's 28. Yes, he'll be 29 next year. Turn that last remaining year, split that money up into 3 years, add some new money on the back end. Like, love that in the offseason. right now, this doesn't feel like the kind of team where they're going to make a major addition. Like I could see them doing something like Isaiah Ford, if anybody remembers who that is, when they traded for him in 2020. They gave up like a conditional 7th to get him, and he never actually played. This doesn't seem like a deadline team to me. I don't think this is going to be a very active NFL trade deadline. I just don't think it. There's very few teams that like who's really trading. Okay, the Panthers are.
The Panthers.
But everybody else is sort of in it, right? There's not a ton of teams that are totally out of it right now. So I just don't think there's going to be a ton out there at the deadline. And the Patriots aren't in a position to buy as much as other teams, teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Eagles, teams like even the Giants. So I don't see them making that big move. I think the Panthers are a really interesting one to revisit in the offseason. Really interesting to revisit in the offseason. Especially if they should hire Gerard Mayo. I mean, he'd be a perfect fit there. And then maybe
they have good young studs on defense.
Right. You find somebody he likes here and you can work something out. But I don't think that they're going to make a big move at this deadline.
What about this?
I mean, they could. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. He visited the Vikings today.
Did he? He's visiting everywhere.
I know.
Nah, he's going to Kansas City, Buffalo, or back to LA.
Yeah, he's not going to come here.
He's just chasing a ring.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I think that's Kendrick Bourne trade value. I mean, again,
we kind of talked about that before. Yeah. The value's low. I know Robbie Anderson's not a perfect comp because he obviously got traded due to extenuating circumstances, but you're not getting any. You're not going to get a pick in the top 100, maybe not the top 150. So teams aren't going to give up a ton for him right now. That's something again you revisit in the offseason.
Right. Agreed. I think that's a good place to wrap on the Q&A, Alex, unless you see any more good ones in the chat. I think we're good. I think we can put a bow on Patriots versus Bears preview. Again, we will let's wrap this up quickly with Thursday Night Football because
I told you. No, I got a game. I actually have a prediction.
You know what? You're totally right because so do I, and I will quickly go into it. There will be more on clnsmedia.com with my full gambling prediction. The Patriots are 9-point favorites. I believe the total is 40 points. I'll have to double check that. It might be a little higher, but I think Patriots win. I think they cover. I think Mac comes in. I think they run the offense right. I don't think the Bears score a lot of points. Like you said, it's going to be a rainy Monday night. I think the Patriots take care of business again and they beat them big. You'll be able to read more on CLNS when you see it, but Alex has a prediction, which is
I actually have a score prediction. So
let's hear it.
There have been 7 instances, 6 individual players, where a former Bill Belichick first-round draft pick came back and faced the Patriots as a member of another team at Gillette Stadium. It's happened 7 times, 6 players: Daniel Graham, Ben Watson, Dominique Easley, Vince Wilfork twice in 2016, once in the regular season, once in the postseason with the Texans. Nate Solder came back with the Giants in 2019. And last year, Malcolm Brown came back with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So 7 games. The Patriots are 7-0 in those games. They have won by an average score of 35-12. So assuming N'Keal Harry plays, it would be the 8th such game of a former first-round pick coming back to face the Patriots at Gillette Stadium. And by the way, some of the scores from these recent games, last year, 50-10. The Giants game with Nate Solder, 35-14. They shut out Vince Wilfork's Texans, 27-0. They beat Daniel Graham's Broncos, 41-7. Assuming N'Keal Harry comes back, it will be the 8th time Bill Belichick faces one of his former first-round picks at Gillette Stadium. The average score of those games, again, 7-0. Patriots 7-0. Average score of 35-12. I think you see where I'm going with this. Patriots 35, Bears 12. And I don't know if that's 4 field goals or them just screwing up a bunch of PATs or whatever. Maybe a safety, but 35-12.
There you have it, guys. That is the first time in my short-ish reporting career here that I have ever heard a final score prediction come out of Alex Barth's mouth.
And it's complete nonsense. It's not actually based on anything.
Complete nonsense. But there you have it, folks. 35-12 Patriots this weekend against the Bears on Monday night. It'll be a fun one. Me and Alex will both be there.
Hang on. I got to drop this in real quick here.
Okay.
This is just tweeted out by Mark Harmon. He covers the Bears.
Okay.
Bears defensive lineman Justin Jones plans on checking the balls Monday night. He heard that Deflategate might still be going on. First thing you think of when you hear the name Bill Belichick? Deflated balls, Justin Jones.
I don't even want to start with Deflategate anymore because you know what? No, we'll just talk about the Robert Kraft report this week where Robert Kraft loves Roger Goodell. They are boys. They love running the NFL together. They're anti-Jerry Jones. I can't even do Deflate anymore. Nonsense in what it was, and there's no animosity anymore with this organization and Roger Goodell. It's just gone with Brady.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
So Robert Kraft isn't on your side. I mean, let's get into fandom.
Robert Kraft's a businessman. Robert Kraft's a businessman. Robert Kraft's doing what's best for the business.
But he also wants to win football games. He said it himself last year that we haven't won a playoff game in 3 years.
Getting rid of Roger Goodell doesn't help them win playoff games.
Yeah, but he almost screwed him out of a Super Bowl. That's money. That's money in your team's pocket, Alex. And now he's just buddy with him again.
He was always buddy. But the feud was never Kraft and Goodell. Like, I think that's the misunderstanding. The feud was never Kraft and Goodell. They were always on good terms. It was Brady
Kraft has
and
to take his side. Come on.
Whenever anybody sides against Jerry Jones, I generally believe they're on the right side of things. So
no, I agree with that. And again, ultimately, I think I'm not going to say it. Never mind. I think Goodell has done an okay job as commissioner. There's been plenty of things that have gone awry, so I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. But yeah, I agree. Like you said, when you're against Jerry Jones, you're probably on the right side of things. So. But yeah, that's who was it who said that about Deflategate?
Some Bears defensive lineman, Justin Jones.
Oh. That talking junk against the Patriots doesn't tend to do too well for opposing players. So that's I guess that's an interesting note. But let's get into Thursday Night Football, Alex, because we'll give picks and then we'll let you all go. But Saints at Cardinals tonight in Arizona. Cardinals are 2.5-point favorites. The total is 44. Andy Dalton seems to be at the helm for the Saints. I believe they're giving Jameis Winston another week to rest. Another interesting primetime matchup here on Thursday night. Both the Saints and the Cardinals are, I would say, underachieving this year so far. I feel like both teams sort of had decent expectations to maybe both compete for at least playoff spots here. And in the back end, 7 seed type teams, but they're both 2-4, and they're just, I think Cliff Kingsbury's the favorite to be the first coach fired. So where do you see this game going ultimately, Alex? I think it's the Cardinals game here. I think the Cardinals take it, but what say you?
Well, do you know what happened today in the world of video games?
I can't say I do.
The new Call of Duty game dropped.
Oh,
so I'm going to take the Saints.
Okay.
We're going to take the Saints.
All right. Kyler Murray. If you don't know, Kyler Murray, a big video gamer, signed a big contract extension this offseason. In the fine print was that he had to watch a certain amount of film a week outside of the football office, and he could not do so well playing video games. So Kyler Murray, always on COD. There's plenty of stats, too, that come out where, when there's double XP weekends and different events and things like that, he loses, he throws interceptions. It's great. It's good stuff. So COD came out. So I have a hard time picking the Cardinals now, quite frankly.
I'm taking the Saints. Yeah.
All right. I like it. There you have it, folks. I think something about Kyler, he actually plays pretty good on primetime games. I remember there was one game, I think they played the Seahawks on Monday Night Football, and I can't remember if they won or not, but he's an electric player to watch. I mean, I don't know about, his future with the Cardinals and where they'll go with Cliff and all that, but they're a fun team. They get DeAndre Hopkins back tonight from his 6-game PED suspension. So should be a fun one. So go check that out. We will wrap here. That's our predictions. I got Cardinals. Alex has Saints. Last week I won. Just saying. I had the Commanders and you had the Bears.
Yeah, so. I put too much. I put too much stock in Carson Wentz just being super deflated over what Ron Rivera said. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if my nonsense pick hits this week.
Yes, Yes, we're against each other tonight. So there you have it. Patriots beat on this lovely Thursday. Patriots play Monday night, so that's why there's an extra day in here, and this was the first injury report of the week, etc. But I'll be at Gillette Saturday. Alex will be there the rest of the week. We'll both be there Monday night to have you all covered. He'll be on 98.5 The Sports Hub. You can check him out there. I'll be on clnsmedia.com, as well as you can follow us both on Twitter. I'm at Mike Kadlick, and he's at Real Alex Barth. Again, the Patriots welcome the Chicago Bears to Gillette Stadium for Monday Night Football with an 8:15 kickoff. Mac Jones set to be back. We went through it all here in the podcast, so please check it out. Thank you all for listening. We will be back next week for 2 podcasts again, so we will see you then. Thank you all.